from the interesting street furniture news department. These relay mailboxes, as they're called, are used to store mail that, for a variety of circumstances, one USPS carrier will leave mail for another one here, or leave it for themselves to get to later, something like that. But they've always been green, unlike their blue counterparts. The USPS blue mailboxes, blue collection stations, blue drop boxes, they go by a variety of names. Those are still blue as far as I know, but somebody came along and painted this one brown. So that maybe this is a policy change at the post office. No more green relay mailboxes, we're going to go brown now. And by the way, I think these still have creation dates on this side, although I'm not finding it now. Most of these relay mail boxes that I've found, oh, there it is, it's on the back. It has the date of birth, if you can call it. So this one has been on this spot since 1996. Or, well, it's at least been on the streets since 1996. Sometimes they move them from one spot to another. And the blue boxes also have dates of birth on them, but they're all pretty recent now because they replaced every single one of them with newer versions that make it harder to pluck mail out of them, or make it impossible actually to pluck mail out of them. Evidently that was a big thing for a while. So anyway, there's your street furniture news for the moment. See, this is what most of the relay mailboxes look like. This greenish color. I actually suspect there are more of these out on the sidewalks now than the blue mailboxes. Although I don't have access to data anymore to prove that. I used to. So this one, it says 1982, or is that 1962? Ow! I'm gonna say 82. And it has the place of its creation in Warrenton, Georgia. But most of these boxes are green. But having spotted one that had just been painted brown, it remains to be seen if that's going to be the new color for these things. Street furniture is fun, right? And here you have two relay stations in a row next to the more familiar, to most people at least, blue box. And these were retrofitted to replace the handle that used to be here. You'd open this handle, and some boxes were getting so stuffed with mail that people would come by and pluck letters out, and there'd be checks in there and cash even, and that became enough of a problem that the USPS went to what must have been considerable expense to replace every single one of these in New York. I don't know if they did that in other cities nationwide, but that was within the last few years, and that explains why the date stamps on these things are so much more recent than on the green ones, and on the blue boxes that preceded them, for that matter. And they're even a little more precise. This one gets it down to September 2018. Steel Craft Corporation in Hartford, Wisconsin. Is that right? Yeah. But these green boxes sometimes have the date on the side. 1960. Oh, and by the way, I got to give a shout out to my friend Joe for pointing this out to me. He observed, this was just totally his observation. I've tried to find like documentation about this at the USPS or wherever. I thought they might have written some like brief history of the mailbox and the relay mailboxes and all that, but I never found anything. So it was just by my friend Joe's personal observation that not only did he notice the dates, but that I think the date stamps before a certain year were convex or maybe just flat, and then dates after a certain year were wait a minute, what's the difference between convex and concave? Concave means it's like pressed in. Convex means it's protrusion a little bit. So the year stamps on these boxes up to a certain year were concave, and then after a certain year they were convex, and there were some other nuances to his very detailed observations about these things. But all the mailboxes here are, the blue ones that is, are recent because they replaced them to retrofit to prevent phishing of mail. But I don't know that they did that nationwide. I used to have a data set of these, well, I still have a data set of the blue mailboxes, but I also had a spreadsheet listing all the locations of these green boxes, and I didn't really realize that I probably could have built a successful website with that, because it's, for the general population, that's absolutely useless information. And I've since learned that uselessness has become a peculiar unit of currency on the internet. And I probably could have built a unique and interesting website telling people where to find these green relay mailboxes, but I didn't take advantage of it, and I have no idea what happened to that data set. And as long as I'm talking about street furniture, this is right across from one of the green boxes I looked at a few minutes ago. As long as I'm talking about street furniture, I might as well, and useless street furniture at that, might as well take a look at one of these things. These are the emergency call boxes that are supposed to be painted bright red, and this paint job is obviously faded. These things cost the city millions and millions of dollars every year. Nobody ever uses them, at least not for legitimate purposes. They are said to set off or go off at about 3 o'clock every day. That's when the kids get out of school. You know, with all the zeal that they put into getting rid of the payphones, you'd think they'd get rid of this, because this costs taxpayers money. The payphones did not, and the payphones actually made money for the city. But these things are never going anywhere, and the reason is that as far back as the Giuliani administration, I think they were trying to get rid of these, but the case put forward by the city was considered specious by a district judge. The case they put forward was that we didn't need these things anymore because payphones provided a suitable alternative. And this was even then, when this happened like 20 years ago, even then payphones were on the decline. Payphones were being removed, and fortunately, well, I don't know if it's fortunate or not, but the judge recognized this fact. And the main complaint, the legal complaint, was that they had not provided a suitable alternative for people with speech disabilities to report emergencies. People with speech disabilities use something called the tapping method to report incidents, and you can't do that on this particular box, but on other boxes you can. And 911 operators are trained to recognize the tapping method. It's sort of like a form of Morse code, I guess. But the judge ruled that payphones were not a suitable replacement just based on their dwindling quantity, and also that no suitable alternative for the mute and speech disabled had been put forth.